Hello students, welcome to the subject of Productions and Operations Management. This is unit number 3, Facility Layout, and we are dealing with part 7. In the previous lectures, we have dealt with the different types of layout. Different types of layout is the design that can be opted by the manufacturer depending upon the requirement of the manufacturing unit, and when you make such an arrangement, it is known as plant layout. When you make the arrangement of this plant layout, there cannot be a single type or there cannot be a single specific setup, and that is why there are options available for the manufacturer to see that out of the options available, which one is the best suitable type for his manufacturing section. And that is what we are dealing right now under the facility layout, that is types of layout. We have seen the contents as you can see it on the slide here, that we have dealt with 1 to 10 contents. We have also dealt with 1 to 11 and 12, and we are dealing with the 13th one that tells us about the types of layout. Alright, we go to the next part. We'll be checking in this session the two types of layout, that is static layout and cellular layout. In the previous lectures, we have already dealt with the product layout related to product, where product is prominent, where product is dominant. That means the product is given the whole importance. The fall of the or the sequence of the machines are so arranged that whatever the material falls from one machine to the another one and the next one, likewise the machines are arranged. So here what is important is the product and nothing else, whereas in the process layout, the similar performing machines are grouped together. You have a kind of section or department in which the similar functional machines are placed and they are performing, and of course they are placed in a sequence. That means department 1, then 2, then 3, and likewise. But what is important here is the process, the function, and that is why it is also known as functional layout. We have seen quite in detail the difference between the two layout also. I repeat, from the examination point of view, the types of layout is very crucial, very important to understand. So just let us revise from the beginning and then we connect it to today's layout design. Thus, plant layout is the appropriate arrangement of the machinery, equipments and other industrial facilities. The main purpose of plant layout is to achieve. By now it should be very clear, and it should be striking you very easily that the main purpose of plant layout is what, or what is plant layout? It is an appropriate arrangement of all the machineries, all the types of resources and equipments that may be used for the industrial production. The main purpose of plant layout is what? To achieve the fastest, the smoothest and the production at a minimum cost. That means cost effective manufacturing. If you want to do, the arrangement has to be made in such a way. We have discussed also with the principles, layout problems and marks of good layout in the previous sessions. We have also dealt with the product layout and process layout, as I told you in the beginning. And in the previous lecture, just the previous lecture, we have completed with almost the difference of 11 to 12 points between the product layout and process layout. Alright, so it makes very clear that why it is important to, or when it is important to go for product layout and when the requirement is there for process layout. Now it becomes important for the manufacturer to decide which is the best layout for him depending upon his production or product manufacturing cycle. That means once he decides his, I'm just trying to refresh it from the beginning. What is production and operations all about? Productions and operations is a kind of the function, very important function performed by the manufacturer. When a manufacturer decides at first stage what important decision he takes, whether to go for goods or he wants to go for intangible services. That was all dealt, and that was all related to chapter number 1 or unit number 1. Once he decides that if he wants to, whether he wants to go for the product or he wants to go for the services, the next immediate question that is to be resolved is said to be where it is to be done, or where the production cycle is to be carried out. And in that case, what we answer is a question of plant location. That means it gives you the place, it gives you the site at which the whole manufacturing setup can be there. Once you decide on your location, the immediate question that rises up is about the plant layout, and that is what is the unit number 3, that is we are dealing. And when you are dealing, or when he has this decision to be made that what type of arrangement of the machines, equipments, resources should be there, at that time several options are available before him. In this unit, as far as your syllabus goes, there are 5 different options, 5 to 6 different options that we may study. And in that case, we have already checked out with the product layout, process layout, the say static layout. We are going to check it right now in this session, and the cellular layout, and at last we have the combined layout. We have already seen the difference between product layout and process layout, right? This is what in just a few minutes I have tried to check out your whole syllabus up till now, whatever we have completed. So if you remember the series properly, if you can answer it, or if you have a logical sequence before you that what is the fall of syllabus, then it becomes easy for you to understand and to relate all the points together. Anyways, we move ahead. Here, as I told you, we can see on the screen there are 5 types of layout. Product layout, it is also known as straight line layout. The process layout is also known as functional layout, static layout or fixed position layout, cellular layout, or it is also known as group technology layout, that is GT layout, right? And in the last, that is 5th one, combined layout and hybrid layout also. That means we are going to study 5. Out of these 5, as of now we have taken up with first 2, that is product layout, or we call it straight line layout, or it is process layout, which is also known as functional layout. Today we'll be studying in this session the static layout. Static layout is also known as fixed position layout. Now, what does the term static means? Static means to remain stagnant, at ease. That means whatever is the position, you keep it as it is, there are no changes, and that is what is known as static layout, right? To understand this type, we must relate it to the name, that is the fixed position layout. The main product produced is fixed at a particular place. That means if you try to understand, if you try to relate the name with the title that has been given, it is self-explanatory. That means static means to remain stagnant as it is. Fixed position, that means here what is not moving, the product is not moving. In fact, everything else is in a mobile position, but the product remains as it is, and that is why it is known as the static layout. This layout is very interesting to understand. Alright, here what happens is resources like equipments, labor and materials are brought to that fixed location. That means where you want to produce the product, at that particular point, at that particular place, the resources, equipment, machineries, say other type of facilities are brought there. Even the labor and material is being taken to that fixed location. This type of layout is useful when the product is produced is very big or so heavy or difficult to move from one place to another. Now, when this static layout can be used? Static layout can be used for all those production system wherein we don't have, or we cannot have, the mobility of the product as it is. We cannot move the product, and the product is too heavy, or maybe it is the product is too big to take forward or backward, or maybe to any other place. In such a kind of situation, what do? We bring all the facilities there and then we try to produce. When we take up all the facilities there at the place of production, the product is static, the product does not move. In fact, everything else moves, every resources moves around it. It is known as static or maybe fixed position layout. For example, the ample of examples have been given here. For example, construction of machines, shipbuilding, aircraft assembly, wagon building, etc. That means when we are producing such a kind of product which are too heavy, which are too big in nature, then at that time we may not be able to take or transfer the product from one place to another. Instead, what we do is we keep the product as it is. We don't try to move it. In fact, what moves is said to be the other resources. When we make such an arrangement, it is known as static layout. Now, we must understand that some products cannot be put on an assembly line or moved in a plant. It's very natural that few products are such, as in we have seen in the previous slide, that if you are building a if you are manufacturing a ship, or you are making a steamer, or you are manufacturing an aircraft, then it may not be possible for that particular aircraft or its subcomponents to be taken from one place to another. Instead, the things are brought to this product and the workout is being done on that particular product. At that time, we call the type of arrangement, we call it as static or fixed layout. Now, a fixed position layout lets the product stay one place while workers and machineries or any other resources move to it as needed. That means fixed position layout is such a kind of arrangement in which the product does not move. Mind you, the product does not move. Instead, then what moves? It may be the workers, it may be the machineries, it may be any other resources that keeps on moving. As per the requirement, it keeps on moving around the product, but the product remains as it is. It is stagnant, it is static, it is at its fixed position. Products that are impossible to move, say where it is applicable, then in the products like ships, maybe airplanes, or construction projects. Say if a bridge, overbridge or underbridge is concerned, have you ever have you ever seen the bridge being taken up for manufacturing somewhere else? Definitely not, right? It's not possible. At that time, whatever resources you require, maybe the cranes, maybe the machinery, maybe the digging machinery, maybe the workers, maybe whatever resources that we may be using for building up the bridge, it may be under bridge, over bridge, whatever we are doing, then these resources come to the product and product remains as it is. So typical examples are ships, as I said, maybe the airplanes, construction project are the typical example of fixed position. Now it has to be very clear before you that in the product layout we took an example of, if you remember, the car wash, right, wherein the exit and entry were totally at a different place. The car used to enter, then the maybe whatever the process it had to undergo, 1 2 3 4 5 and 6, it is exit. This is what is known as the product layout. See, if you want to remember the layouts in a proper sense, you should remember the examples. If you remember the example once, everything gets very clearly before you. So product layout, we had the example of car wash. In the process layout, we had the example of say different departments, like it was say it may be milling department, grinding department, maybe the receiving inspection department. Likewise, the things were being taken up according to the functions and the machines are grouped likewise. Here in the fixed position layout, what you have to remember is the example. We have to remember maybe the shipbuilding, maybe the aircraft manufacturing, or maybe any construction project wherein we produce things but the product itself does not move. Instead, everything else which is required to produce the product comes there at its position. In fact, in a fixed position layout, personnel, that means people, supplies and equipments are brought to the site where the product will be assembled, rather than the product being moved through an assembly line or set of assembly stations like any other layout. That means in any other layout, it was the product that used to move from one process to the another, and likewise. But what happens here, under the static layout, we don't move the product. Instead, everything else, it may be say personnel, it may be supplies, it may be equipments, it may be any kind of other resources, we bring it to the product, and that is what is known as the fixed position layout. Alright, here I have quoted an example of a fixed position facility layout, and the source is taken up from the Operational Management 9th edition by Gather and Frazier. Right, here the fixed position layout has been explained with the diagram, and it's a construction of stadium. If you check the picture here, you will realize that a stadium is being constructed in the middle of the picture, and whatever, if we start with the equipments or the people or whatever the facilities that are required, that are all revolving around this stadium. It may be general contractor, it may be the equipments like say bulldozers or cranes brought up there, it may be materials like steel, glass, cement, etc. There may be general labor who may be working, there may be plumbing contractor, electrical contractor, mechanical contractor, or maybe the architect. All of them are there, but the product remains as it is. In fact, these facilities keep on moving around the manufacturing or maybe construction of stadium. Right, that means whenever the project such a kind of product is being produced, which is heavy in nature, which is big in nature, then at that time, big in size, then at that time we have to definitely go for static layout. Static layout has this speciality that the product does not move. Instead, everything which is required for manufacturing or constructing comes to the location, and the product remains static. Right, so there are other fixed position layout examples also. It may be buildings, it may be the construction of dams or nuclear power plants, shipbuilding, aircraft, aerospace, farming, drilling for oil, home repair, and automated car washes. They are such a kind of examples which tells us that the speciality of the static layout is being maintained. That means the product does not move. In fact, all the equipments, all the machineries and resources keep around moving around the product. To use this layout, the required resources must be movable so that they can be taken to the job for the performance. Yes, the requirement is this also, that when the product is heavy, it is too big, naturally we will not be able to assemble it, or we cannot take it to the assembly line. But on the contrary, the care has to be taken that whatever the required resources are, they have to be movable in nature. That means they should be having a mobility of shifting it from one place to another. Only then they'll be able to help us out with the manufacturing of static product. All right, here as I told you in the beginning when we started with the types of layout, that each layout that we will be learning, that means 5 layouts are there. Then in each layout we'll be learning about the layout, we'll try to quote an example, and then at the end we try to find out the pros and cons. That means advantages and disadvantages of all of them are to be studied. Once you are clear with the type, then this comes up very automatically to you. Let us check it out with the advantage of static layout. This is simple and easy to understand types. Yes, definitely, because everything comes there, and whatever is the requirement, accordingly the manufacturing is taken up. Next, the flexibility is there to make the adjustments. Yes, the product does not move, but everything else can be movable. Or the facilities are movable, equipments and machines are movable, so it becomes easy that whatever the things are there, they can be adjusted very well. The labor can be fully utilized. Definitely, if you need 5 labor, then if 5 labor are available, they will be brought up for the work, and there the full utility of the labor can be done. Next is material handling can be reduced, because everything beforehand you are bringing to the product itself, and so in between material handling is not required. In fact, everything is done at the static levels of the manufacturing. Men and machines can be used for a variety of operations producing different products. You can use few men, or you can use men and machines in such a way that during their idle time they can be also used for another kind of or different kind of products. So men and machines both can be used for variety of the operations under static layout. Next comes up is transportation. Cost of heavy product is avoided. Naturally, if you are bringing or if you are producing, say, aircraft wings, or you want to attach aircrafts to the, say, attach the wings to the aircraft, then bringing the wings to the aircraft is a big deal. That means a heavy transportation cost is required. But when we take up with the static layout, that means everything is being manufactured in house, and we can get the assembly done very easily at a static point. All right. So and the last one, the last advantage tells us that the result or the end result motivates the worker. Supposingly, if you are building up a building, or you are constructing a kind of say stadium, then once the stadium is constructed and the person or the labor or the masons involved in manufacturing, or sorry, constructing the stadium are there, then they can feel motivated with the help of the achievement that they can see before their eyes. So it is self motivatory, and on the contrary, end results are very motivational in nature, right? It inspires the people to work hard for achieving the purpose. Here there are disadvantages, as the coin has two sides. That means if the pros are seen, we have to also see the cons. That means if we have seen the advantages, we have seen the benefits, then we also need to check out the loopholes, the disadvantages, or maybe the limitation. What are they? Let us check. Number one, many times machines and other resources are too heavy to get transported to the workplace. This is the biggest disadvantage, that whatever the machines are there, whatever the resources are there, many times its transportation to the workplace becomes tough. Next, the whole affair is very expensive, as highly skilled people are required. Naturally, you want to take it, you want to customize the goods, or moreover you have to make one of its kind, then you need the skilled labor there, and that in that sense it is very expensive. Now this setup is suitable for the special type of products being produced in the small quantity. Naturally, whatever the production is there under the static layout, they are called static because once the production or manufacturing of that particular product or goods are done, it will be done with in a unique way, and this setup is thus only suitable for specific products. For all the types of products produced in bulk, these may not be useful. In small quantity, when you are producing specific type of product, when you are producing it's unique in nature, then at that time it may be only that we may be able to use. So in that sense, it is disadvantage that we may not be able to use it in the large scale production. This setup may not be useful because it may be only useful for the small quantity. All right, so what we have done up till now is we have taken up with static layout, what it is concerned and how it works. Check the slides. We have already seen with the advantages of static layout, and we have also checked with the disadvantages here. Now what we are moving towards is the fourth important type, that is known as cellular layout. Now cell means cellular. Cell means the small place or compartment. When we divide the whole area into small cells or small departments, it is known as cellular layout, right? What are its specifications? Cellular manufacturing is a type of layout where the machines are grouped according to the process requirement for a set of similar items that require similar processing, like a small family setup. That means cellular manufacturing is a type of layout and machinery The machines are here, what happens is they are grouped together like a small family. These groups are normally known as cells. That means in a small group, when you are bringing together, in small compartments when you are bringing it together, it becomes more or less the cells, and this is how it has got its name, that is, it is cellular layout. Therefore, a cellular layout is an equipment layout adjusted to support to a small or specific manufacturing. That means cellular layout is such a kind of arrangement in which the equipments are so much wisely adjusted to having or for having the specific manufacturing. Next comes up is cellular layout combines both the aspects of the product layout as well as the fixed position layout. That means whatever the advantage of the product layout was, we can fix it here, and it is very much possible. And the thing that we have to remember here is that cellular layout is such a kind of arrangement in which everything or it is divided like in a small family setup, right? Cellular layouts combine, as I told you, both the product layout and it's a fixed position layout. It's a combination of both. However, work cells working, they are comparatively small. Self-contained means everything is available in that small cells only. You don't have to depend on anything else. It is like self-contained production unit that includes several machines. There may be many machines and workers arranged in the compact, that means in a very brief manner, in a precise manner, as well as it is in a sequential order also. So cellular layout means it is such a kind of arrangement in which everything is arranged in small groups and in a small family like part. There are usually 5 to 10 workers in a cell, and they are trained to be able to do any type of work. That means in a particular cell there may be as many as 5 to 10 workers who may be working, and they are trained so well that whatever the function is, it can be performed easily by each one of them. This cell performs all or almost the task necessary to complete a manufacturing order. That means in a small cell itself, the whole manufacturing process gets over. Alright. The goal is to create a team environment wherein team members are involved in the production from beginning to end on a constant basis. Why this type of cellular layout is used? Where you want to build up the team environment, or you want to get the work from the team, and moreover the purpose is that from the very beginning till end you need the constant mass only, constant people only to carry out the work. In that sense, at that time the cellular layout is the best suitable, because in the cellular layout we have the specific arrangement done in a small part. In this way, the firm avoids burden of rearranging its current layout. Means instead of arranging the current layout every now and then, what is being done? It is changed to the cellular. That means in the small cells you divide whatever the type of activities, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in a small cell. So each activity has its compact effect and it can be worked out like that. Right? Here we will check out with the advantages of the cellular layout. In the cellular layout the work can be done quite speedily, because whatever the requirement you want to have it, they all are available in a small cell, in a small compartment. In this type of layout the specialization can be used very properly. That means each machine, each specialized activity is available in this small cell, and that is why the specialization of the people or equipments or machines can be taken up to its best. Third one, cost of production can be reduced and the delivery time can also be shortened. At times you can reduce the cost, because whatever you are producing, the single cell is producing everything. Whatever facilities you require, the cell has all the facilities in it, and that time we can check, we can bring up a kind of time control also, and we can shorten the manufacturing cycle also. Next, material handling can be reduced, because whatever you require you bring it to the cellular setup, so you don't need to handle the material every now and then. That reduces the cost of material handling. You actually don't need to have the machines, or maybe the conveyor belts, something like that, manually or say mechanically, you don't require it, and that reduces the cost. Again, quick setups are possible. That means for the particular demand or particular order you want to make a setup, then cellular layout can help you out with that, because in that particular say types, what we do is we bring up whatever the requirement is, we bring up together and we prepare or we make a cell, and every activity is taken up under this cell. Such a kind of setup can be done. So it is quick setups can be taken up easily. Next, low stock of inventories are required, because you don't need to bulk the material. Instead, whatever the demand is, whatever the requirement is, accordingly the cell has its own ways, and then it can perform the manufacturing. So low stock of inventories are required. Here we'll be dealing with the different disadvantages also, that if it has advantages, definitely there are set of disadvantages, like it consumes huge space, because you need to divide the whole process, or you want to take the whole process in a single cell, then at that time you may need a huge space. Only then you can divide into different cells in different compartments, and you can bring the work from there, right? There is poor administration, because staff management in a cellular office layout can be quite difficult, because in an open layout supervising the employees is actually easier. It's not possible for the manager to supervise all the employees efficiently in a cellular layout. Means at times if you are bringing up the setups temporarily and then you are again dispersing it, then what happens is whatever the employees efficiency is there, that gets reduced, and there is poor administration that can be noticed. The third one is it is expensive in nature, because constructing and running a cellular office can be quite costly in comparison to building and managing an open office layout. Why? Because here in the cellular pattern, all the employees have to be given separate compartments, requiring more space, which can be really very expensive, because you are dividing, you are bringing the whole setup in one cell. Then you require, for each individual require their own equipments or whatever their own necessities are. Then it is a kind of expensive affair. The fourth one is equipments cannot be shared. Once you provide, suppose a system or a fax machine or a kind of say printer to one particular employee, then those things cannot be used by the second, third, fourth employee. In that sense, what happens is equipments cannot be shared. Since all the compartments are partitioned, each of them will require separate resources like telephone, fax, printers, computer system, etc. These will definitely increase the operational cost for any organization having the cellular layout. That means in a cellular layout, the disadvantage is that equipments cannot be shared. So if you pass on one system to one person, the same system cannot be used by the next one. So in that sense, we need more number of facilities for the workers. The next and the last one that comes up is it is difficult to adjust at the workplace or to match the workload, because once the compartments are ready, it becomes difficult to add or reduce the dimensions of compartment as per the changes in the workload. So at times in cellular layout, it becomes difficult to balance the workload or workspace. You cannot manage it, and that time it proves to be the disadvantageous for the manufacturer. So here what we have done today is we have taken up with the static layout on one hand and cellular layout on the other hand. Static layout has its own advantages and disadvantages, and so do the cellular layout also has its own set of advantages and disadvantages. Here we are going to end up with the session, right? When we meet next, we will be taking up with the next type of layout, that is combined layout. By that time, it's goodbye from here. Take care and bye.